They say history is written by the victors, so I don't mind playing the villain. Got a pretty girl to the throne. 'Cause the memories come and I can't even run. I gotta win this chance to prove to me I can. I'll divide and I will conquer. I will battle like a warrior. If I'm dying, getting stronger. I'll divide and I will conquer. You're like all I ever wanted, but couldn't afford. I know you like feeling haunted. What a pretty girl leave you bored. 'Cause the memories come and I can't even run. I gotta win this chance to prove to me I can. I'll divide and I will conquer. I will battle like a warrior. If I'm dying, getting stronger. I'll divide and I will conquer. I'll divide and I will conquer. I will battle like a warrior. If I'm dying, getting stronger. I'll divide and I will conquer.
We stand together, united as one. Forward on we go, facing friend and foe. We will know what it is. We have not time for that.
Morning, everybody.
We make mistakes.
So, audio in the
We
last
are
one kind of
lost.
sucked. Other than- So, yeah. Bring my SGC.
We are lost.
How you guys?
We are lost.
So, yeah.
We are lost. We stand together, united as one. Forward on we go, facing friend and foe. We will know what it is. We have not time for that. If we make mistakes, we are lost. We are lost. We are lost.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Calling All Devs, our relatively new now weekly Q&A program where we take questions submitted by you, the Star Citizen backer, voted on by you, the Star Citizen backer, asked by me, the Star Citizen content manager, and posed to our developers, the Star Citizen developers. Yes, it's a joke I'm never going to get tired of. Let's just jump right into things, shall we? So for our first question, the first question voted on and submitted by backers, we are calling, who is one of the people who's become a Calling All Devs All-Star, Mr. Chad McKinney here in our Los Angeles studio. Chad, how you doing, man?
Hey, man. Doing well.
Welcome back.
Good to be back.
All right, so we are starting off with you. We've got a question here. One of the most voted on questions in our February thread. We put up a new thread every single month. This rose to the top very quickly. When will persistence login? What? Oh wait, no. Okay. When will persistence log us into the same location where we logged out, like ships, outposts, stations, etc.?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a bug that actually we knew about before even going to Evocati. This actually did work at one point, but there were some changes. There's actually quite a few changes that happened to persistence and the way that we handle persistent data throughout the 3.0 release. And it was just one of those bugs that we knew about, clearly identified, had repros and everything for it. We just didn't have the time to dedicate to fix it. It was one of those things that we decided that it was okay to let slip for this particular release, and we are absolutely going to fix it for 3.1. We did release a follow-up patch in 3.0.1 that solved it in part. There was actually a large amount of persistent data regarding the player that wasn't getting sent to the game server whenever a player would log in. And it would make it to where there were certain persistent behaviors that wouldn't track across servers. That has been fixed, but it doesn't completely fix this particular issue. So we just need to actually dedicate the time to it to actually investigate it and fully kill it off. But yeah, this is something we've known about, and we're absolutely going to fix it for the next release.
All right, so just to clarify, it's actually not a feture we're waiting to implement. It's something that's supposed to be in now.
It's a bug that this doesn't happen. Both just like say you whatever signed out at Levski, you would expect you respawn in that Levski, but also the ship spawning feature, or logging off feature that we added in, that and certain ships you can log off in the middle of space and then actually re-log in and be back where you were in the middle of space. And so that is something that we worked on and was actually working. It was actually kind of a Rube Goldberg machine of persistent data, like, to get this thing to come together. And we actually had it working, but then it broke, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll get it working again.
One of the perils of running a live game environment in the middle of game development.
Yeah.
I do want to add one more thing, just to cover your butt a little bit. You said it'll definitely be in for 3.1. I want to say that it is our intention to have it in.
It is definitely our intention to have it in for 3.1.
But just like we didn't let us stop 3.0 from going out, we're not going to let it stop.
That's
3.1.
Right. We'll always identify what really has to be in the minimum viable product for the release. So if this ends up being cut, again, it's not because we didn't know about it or it slipped through the cracks. It's because we felt like there was some other more critical features that we needed to give attention to.
Always with the priorities. All right, Chad, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to work.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much for that. So for our next call, well, I'm not going to call anybody for this one. The next
What?
question that has been submitted by you guys, the backers, and voted on by you
Supposed to be
is
calling all
actually
dead.
how are the mechanics for multiple character slots going to work? And I'm actually going to field that one myself for a couple reasons.
The answer is
One,
pretty
we run
simple,
these things, we
actually.
make these
It
shows,
could be
Calling All
years.
Devs, Reverse the Verse, Around the
Super
Verse.
fun.
We are doing this in the
Last
middle of active game development. One of the challenges of that is that in the middle of active game development, you are still developing things, and one of the things you're developing are the answers to these questions. Now, you'll see a lot of comments from Chris Roberts over the years on either 10 for the Chairman or Wings Hanger or ATV, where he'll share ideas of how he wants that system to work. We've mentioned in the past that's a good use for multiple game packages. Basically, every game package you have equates to a character slot, and of course, then the possibility of selling additional character slots. These are still things that we are open to exploring. But right now, there are no plans to implement a multiple character slot system in 2018. That's something that's a little further out on the schedule. So because it's a little further out in the schedule, we don't have the locked down answers for that system now. It's simply a matter of priorities. So yeah, so there's basically nobody for me to call on that one. I didn't want to ignore it. I didn't want to just skip over it. It's a good question. It
that's
comes
good.
up quite often. You guys submitted it and you voted it up, so I wanted to address it. This is just unfortunately the only answer that's available for this. So for our next call, we are going back to the UK for a question about scanning. And my favorite X-Wing compatriot, Mr. Will Maiden. Will, how you doing, man?
Hey Jared, how's it going?
That's doing well. I'm much better. I'm getting over
always awesome.
pneumonia, turns out.
Oh, it was pneumonia.
Oh,
It sounded
was
pretty
pneumonia.
rough before.
Yeah, no, I went to the doctor
Look,
and
Ma,
he's like, hey,
come on, kid.
I'm not getting over this. He goes, oh, you got a bunch of fluid in your lungs. And I'm like, but you're pretty much over it, over the pneumonia. I'm like, wait, I had pneumonia? He's like, yeah, you had pneumonia. Oh, I didn't.
How much fluid in my lungs? Excuse me?
That I didn't ask. I didn't
Sorry
ask
about
you.
that.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, your question from the backers this week.
Go.
Scanning mechanics. Are scanning mechanics beyond salvage in the works? So he doesn't want to know about scanning mechanics with salvage. He's like, yeah, there's gonna be scanning. He wants to know, beyond salvage, are scanning mechanics in the work? And if so, what patch are they planned for? A when question. A when question. They keep
Just-
trying.
When questions to the left, please.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Beyond salvage, absolutely. Scanning it's in the process at the moment. We're getting the baseline of what scanning is. Kirk's team in LA are doing great work and just kind of getting that delivered. But if you don't want to know about how we scan other ships just in general.
That's good. Throw it in there. Throw it in. He says he doesn't
So-
want to know, but I want to hear
Well,
it.
no,
Throw it
I mean, we've got salvage, but that's different to just normal scanning anyway. So we've got your normal scanning, which is see a ship. I don't know who that is. I'm going to see what's inside kind of thing, which pirates will be using and which everyone will be using. So and we've got two kind of, all scanning is made up of two parts. We've got location and then we've got analysis. So you'll ping and you'll identify with the radar, something's over there and that's worth my interest. And so I'm going to go over there. And then when you get the thing that you want to know about,
Mhm.
you'll scan it and you'll analyze it and you'll get a readout of what's inside. And so that's kind of the fundamental of how all scanning is going to be.
Mhm.
You locate and you analyze. So for salvage, even though you don't want to know about it,
Okay.
for salvage, you will
That's
locate derelicts and you'll scan it and you'll find out what metals it's made up of and how I can use this to strip it for parts. And then so other things we're looking at in the near future will be mining that's coming through. And so for mining, we will be locating deposits of resources. I want to go over there to break up these asteroids or that field or whatever. And then when you get there, you can analyze these rocks, analyze the ground, analyze the asteroids and see, okay, this has got crud that I don't need. There's too much waste in here. This is a thick vein of gold or something like that. So yeah, we'll again taking the same phrase, location and analysis, and that's that's what we're looking at. But I can't really say when that's coming through. But that's where our heads are at the moment with both salvage and mining.
Yeah, and just to tack on to the one question, I know we're having a little fun here. It's because the people who are developing these features and when they're not production, they're not responsible for the scheduling and stuff. They do their work and stuff. So it's one of those reasons when we have the thing that submit your questions that says don't specify for different people, for a different person, only ask one question per thing. It's the people that can tell us about a thing are usually not the people that can tell us the win of a thing. That's different departments.
No, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, so I figure the thing that you want to know more about is how it's going to work anyway, because the answer to almost every one question is when it's ready.
Yeah,
So-
but yeah, that's where these will be the
that's one
first
way for me, yeah.
implementations of the system. So
Yes. All right. So thanks, Will. I'll let you get back to work.
nice one. Take it easy, mate.
All right. Later.
Back to work, you
All
slacker.
right, thank you so much, Will Maiden. For our next question, we've got our Ship Shape show, and we do ship information there, but people keep submitting
What?
questions for calling all devs, and you guys keep voting it. So we're gonna take a question for this, and for this one, I am calling good friend Kirk Tomei here in our Los Angeles studio. Kirk, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, hey, Jared. How's it going? Good.
Good, good. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show again.
Sure, no problem.
Got a
forgot
question
about
for you.
this
I'm pretty
meeting.
sure I already know the answer, but they voted it. I'm posing it to you. The question is simply, any news at all about the Banu Merchantman?
The Merchantman. So a little bit of bad news in that it's unfortunately not on the active ship development schedule for 2018.
Next year,
Last year, we did commission an external artist to do some concept art for us, which was delivered and we approved.
Which was
And we're just under-resourced at the moment to be able to move it into the 2018 schedule. So as soon as we get those resources freed up, we'll begin to schedule working on it and get it released to the community as soon as we can. I'm sure that when we do get those resources and freed up and start working at that, you'll definitely inform the community about when that's
Coming
available.
out next week.
Yes, you can be sure the
Fire
very first
play it.
Ship Shape when this
Have fun.
happens will be me running in front of the camera. Like, it's
Yeah.
happening!
So obviously, we're working on as many ships as we can at the moment, and we're just booked up. And since so many resources are required to get ships in the game, we just have everyone working at 100% capacity.
I do want to follow up on that. You mentioned that we did do some outsource concept work last year. We've actually shown those images. You saw those images on Around the Verse last year when we did features on the Banu and the Banu Defender. We wanted to flesh out more of the Banu style guide when developing the Defender. So you guys have seen everything that exists for the Banu Merchantman at this time. So, like Kirk said, when it's time on the development wheel comes up, you can be darn certain that I'll be right there on a Ship Shape telling you guys. So, thank you so much, Kirk. Thank you for your time.
Sure, no problem.
All right, take care. Okay, and so for our last question of the show this week, we have a question here that's perfect for one of our community managers, actually. So I'm going to call lead community manager out of our Austin, Texas studio, Mr. Tyler Wicken. Tyler, hey, you're playing with your reclaimer.
Sorry. Hi. Hey, Jared. Good to see you.
Every time I call, you're playing with that flippin' reclaimer.
I'm sorry.
I know, it's cooler than anything I have in the entire fan cave.
I mean, I'm not purposely putting it in the frame to show that off to you or anything.
It is so cool. It is so cool. And of course, the reclaimer coming in Alpha 3.1. Yeah, okay. All right. So,
Nice plug. Nice plug.
Hey, that's what I do. I'm a shill. I'm a shill. All right, so I have a question for you from the backers, voted up on Spectrum. Your question for this week is why do I have to go to Reddit, to Twitter, to Facebook to find official information that should have been posted on Spectrum?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm surprised it wasn't about the Carrack in one way or another, but let's
also tell me about the Carrack. It's there.
Yeah, I was waiting for that bit. Okay, so that's a really good question. So one of the things we like to do with our communication style is to be adaptive to some degree. So what that means is, while Spectrum has a lot of good information, announcements, Ask a Dev, or even frequently developers hanging out in the live chats, discussing mechanics or accepting the latest feedback, we also work to provide information on a variety of other platforms that our community uses as well. Now, the reason we do this is because everybody absorbs information in different ways. While one person may prefer a text post, another prefers a video, and another may prefer something more interactive, like a live stream. So what we try to do is utilize all the tools that we have in our belt to be as accommodating as possible for everyone in our community. And so what this allows is actually some really cool things, like getting to send developers to community-ran events like BritisonCon, Bar Citizens, getting to do a cool article in a magazine, just to really, reach everyone in our community in a variety. Oh, I just dropped the Buccaneer off the Reclaimer. He was in the middle of salvaging it. Here, hold that. Anyways, so yeah, we do a lot of cool things. Like, for example, a lot of our developers will take the time to actually go on our community's podcasts and videos. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to is it's not that we don't use Spectrum. It's not that we don't use Facebook or Twitter. It's that we try to use a variety of ways to communicate. For example, a number of shows like this one. So information is everywhere, and we try to be accommodating.
Yeah, and a lot of the information that you see on Twitter or Facebook is repurposed information that was presented elsewhere, either in one of our videos or on a Spectrum post. And yeah, so it's reaching out to as many people and as many different platforms as we can. And I think it's served us very well over the last couple of years. So
yeah.
No. And of course, for anyone that's like, you don't spend time on Spectrum, talk to Matt Sherman, Phantom of Spectrum.
I was about to say, I mean, that's who comes to mind when as soon as you think about Spectrum chat.
Living up in the rafters of Spectrum, waiting for somebody to say something, and then rappelling down and saying, here's the information.
And it's funny you mentioned information coming from Reddit. Well, we're not actively posting information on Reddit. A lot of the information that you may see on Reddit comes from places like our videos, our streams, Matt Sherman, on Spectrum. So yeah.
Talk to Will Maiden about I posted on Spectrum, but the blow up before it happened on Reddit. So our community is such an important part of disseminating our message.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff gets repurposed to all those things. So we use everything. We use everything in every way, in every shape that we can, and I think we'll continue to do that in the future because it's served us so well. Now, you said something about people showing up on podcasts. I understand that you're working on something to help facilitate that.
Like everything would be.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a good idea. I think now's a good time. So in the past, we've had opportunities given to our developers and to CIG staff to appear on various YouTube videos or live streams for members of our community. Now, as our community continues to grow, so does the need for us to streamline this process. And so this is actually really exciting. So in the past, the way it's worked is people from our community would, tweet at us or send in a support ticket or try whichever avenue they could possibly get through to see if they could get somebody from CIG to appear on their show. And what we've realized is that we love that we're getting invited to do these things. We want to do them more, so we're going to help facilitate an organized process to do just that. So coming soon, TM, to the website is something we've been working on, which is an invite a developer form. And what this basically is an opportunity for you to fill out a form that says, hey, what's the name of your show? What are you guys all about? What's your scheduling like? Because obviously scheduling is super important. Our goal is for this process to not impact the game's development in any way. So much so that a lot of our developers are going to be doing this in their free time after hours just because they want to, which is really cool. But in this forum, you'll also be able to request things like, let's say that your live stream is going to be all about environment Dart or procedural planet technology. Well, you can actually put in the type of discipline that you're hoping to get from CIG to appear on your show, and we'll take that into consideration. Now, of course, as a disclaimer, I have to say there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to accommodate every single request that comes in. But I will say that our goal is to be more accommodating than we were before. This is going to help us by taking all the information, all the invitations, all the requests, being able to put it in one place for us to really evaluate how much can we do, how frequently can we do it, and for us just to make this process better so that we can get more involved and be more engaged with all of you.
Yes, thank you for putting that disclaimer in there. Of course, always the highest priority has to be their work on the game.
Absolutely.
Like that. But no, I think it'll be a good step towards towards reaching even more communication platforms than we currently do now. So
yeah.
All right, man. Thank you. Push the reclaimer back away from the edge of the desk. I've watched you almost hit it like 4 times in the middle of this conversation. Or you could just send it to me. You can send it to me, and I will take care of it. I would take very good care of it.
Jared, I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my reclaimer.
All right.
Thanks for having me, Jared.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, and with that, that wraps up another episode of Calling All Devs. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember that you can submit your questions for consideration each and every week in the thread up on Spectrum, and don't forget to vote. That is the 2-prong process. I say this every week. You got to submit the questions, and you got to vote on the questions, and then I'll find the developers that are available to answer. You know that. Which let me add that there. If people are like, hey, you skipped that question, you know, it's all the way up at the top. There's not always a developer that's available to answer the question. It's a mix of things. I do my best, obviously, just like with today's show with the question about the character slots. There wasn't a developer for that right now because it's not an active development. So I did my best not to avoid it, to give you the information that's available. But sometimes when I know there's a developer that's perfect for it, but they're not available this week, we'll put it off for another week. But rest assured, we will get to that question. It's always a shell game of priorities. So for Calling All Devs, I'm content manager for global video production, Jared Huckabee, and we'll see you next week, everybody.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest,
Everybody knows. Alright, so let's talk about the current state of things. There's a lot of ships that are getting reworked, especially because of issues of fun footage. There's a lot of ships getting reworked because of the pyramid system, and 2.0, and there's just a lot of stuff that they're adding to models and generations. Giving us more. But because of that, there's a lot of ships right now getting built. So yeah. Actually, and there's trying to point out. And the other big thing is because we're adding all these new components, they're getting bigger. Like almost everything is doubled in size. Which I think in real life will pick out. This is like, oh, we can fit this totally into like a full car size we have right now on the ground. And then go to building like, oh, actually, something else because of the 10 years with the freaking supplies. And we actually need a little more space in the car. But it's only a win for us. The sucky part about it is just and also means that we're not going to optimize that. A lot of poly, which is okay, but that is. And then you've got other things. So Star coming. 142 requires having shit that already happened. Now it needs to be attached to it, and what happens right now? Not much. But typically a lot would happen. Don't just go, oh, well, crap, I got you. Nah, let me just fire everything up and roll it. Somebody else would be, oh crap, we got you. And now, a lot of systems have to cover. And it's kind of showing in the background right now. We've got drones coming that have to out. We've got support stations, different roles. So, there's a lot of moving parts to it. And because of that, as something that's been a developer myself, more moving parts, more complexity, Need more bugs. That's where we're at right now. Rio brought in a bunch of new things. It's quite phenomenal with it. And you know, in general, we're gonna run out of ads eventually, but I think that still need to get all that done. It sounds like they're pretty close. Great. I think they're actually gonna expand for college, especially. And let's talk about print index. Big bugs. Right. It's got a little bit of hot bug. Outstanding. No. For one, don't jump off platforms if you're gonna have a back. Black Turks, that was great. Especially the 4 actually have fully loaded with cargo. Finally. The list one of the list isn't working at the moment. White golf ball. I haven't personally had the apparently it's thick. Let's think about this one. There's a couple of ones that are interesting. So, if you're a annual F1 various do another bug smashers. Roll through a bunch of different bugs and we'll also add a few. What else is new? There's still a bunch of different issues with sound stations. My last testing that Arc Port 157 was fine, but that's actually not the case. Now it's pretty much all of them are broken. By broken, what I really mean, sometimes when it's responding the first time, it will not work correctly. Down. And the easiest way to get by that is just to spawn something else in its place, and spawn it again. Like this right now, it's really easy when you try to go into the cockpit area, fall through the floor, and back up. There's still also issues with right now at the moment where sometimes they'll lock, sometimes they forget to do. Try it. Doesn't work, right? And everybody is complaining about Steam. Biggest issue there is they definitely network hold in place. They get persistence in place. That'll each network of itself. If nothing else, it'll make network holding times more effective. If everybody spawns into this spot, then it's not going to work. It's not good as what else do we got here? Yes, turrets aren't working. Sometimes this frame is stuck. You're outside your ship grabbing crap. Don't get greedy whenever you're trying to recover boxes. Blown up pirate caterpillars. Will be today. Oh, and the other thing is, if you're coming in from each day like a ship, sometimes it'll just like bounce out there. That's always fun. So, let's see what else we got. I've seen the Glade Skype builders using bonuses on before this thing. I've seen a lot of shit taking their responding correctly, upside down. A lot of HUD issues where your HUD will just disappear. I don't know why it doesn't. I actually tried that one. That was interesting. I have seen that one. That one's so annoying. If you fly somewhere, turn around, then you get out of your seat, it will actually flip the ship around you, and not just around. Crazy. Ship radar is not really working at all, to be honest. Same with some of the lock-on capabilities. So, yeah, there's a lot of times. I wanted to try to go over every one of them. It's an hour-long show, and to be honest with you, so we're gonna jump over to the third map real quick. Talk about what's new. That's the only thing right now that I'd be kind of obvious with. Alright, 3-1. So, got some character customization, which will be awesome. Finally do the shit that we're going to do. Helmets, cool. This is about done with it. So it's probably coming there. Cool. I think we get a new planet in 3-1, but I'm not sure. Might not actually. This service speaking one is going to be like the biggest thing I'm going to be looking forward to, because with all these bugs right now, a lot of cases, if somebody comes and like shoots you, or shoots you once, or scoop you up in a ship, you're out EVA, they're usually fine at that. The problem is that nobody can find you. So that will help, because you're like, hey, I'm bugged out, come get me, please, good stuff. Especially if you're an orc. This is what I do, a nice little... yeah. But, it'd be nice to have that personal manager out a little bit better. Sure. We need damage system. You know what that means? It's gonna be 4 bugs with how damage. The reclaimers coming. So I'm excited about the reclaimer. This one is also on there. Cyclone will be sweet. Ursa is fun. I think Cyclone will be sometimes better. I'm wondering though if it's gonna come with the one with Dungeon, but this is gonna be the base hard at 1, and that's what you'll get as a loner until they fix the rest of it. The Razor, I still want one. Doubt if I'll have the money to buy one. I've already bought 2 new ships. But it looks sweet. And I need a Racer, to be honest with you. I don't have one currently, I gotta go racing. It's actually kind of embarrassing. And the Terrapin. So I have a few friends with this one. I don't personally have it. I see that it has some it's a new weapon. This guy was actually towards it. So when you get those fast buggers, you're just like, well, screw it. I'm just hit. This one right here is going to be the network fine. This will be the biggest game feature for performance, for stability, for all of that. What it actually does, it says, right now, every single 50 player that's on your server sends you directly updates. You didn't know that, but I don't know if it's direct, or it's through a proxy server that he has. In this case, they're talking to each other. And obviously, if you have 50 different things talking to you that are pushing like real-time gaming information, not all systems are going to be able to handle that. And that's actually where a lot of the memory bugs and such are at. Because of that, in my opinion. And so whenever they get it down to like, you're talking with like 5 people, at most, maybe 10, 15, you're going to see significant performance increases. The only area that you'll still see some probably slowdowns is if you're at All-Star, just with all the people chilling there. And they're also doing some more optimizations. Just for a few of us, we're really looking forward to Blueprint. So that's going to be big ones. Got always this never speaking story for mining. Right? Mining showing up. That is an iron. Most people are like, I'm excited I can shoot and blow up things. And I'm like, dude, I want to set up a base. I want to do economics. It's insane, I know. But it'll be small. The biggest thing is for me, I like helping people. And Bill's like, hey dude, I've got some stuff for you. That'll be nice. So, most of my ships are like salvage, mining, repair, search and rescue. All in craft, building craft. That's why. I think with this one, if I remember correctly, they're going to start making so there's dynamic prices at all locations. Which, that'll be cool. design for Mustang. The blade coming out. So, I haven't fun you're gonna see how many points that show up on this dog. And you'll see too that there'll be more Starfares going on. Let's think about this. What happens whenever you get a bunch of daily game ships in the same server? Anybody ever been to a cat party on there yet? I'll tell you what happens. Nothing good. Go back to you're sending a bunch of data back and forth. So with that, let's be honest, 3.3.3.4 is not even what we're talking about at the moment. It's too far out. 2 is almost too far out, to be honest with you. Current state of the game, we'll just summarize it with this. It's playable. There's a lot of bugs. Roll with a friend. What's your best option? If you and another guy go out, one of you is always on the ship. Like if there's something you have to go grab crap from a blown up ship or wreck or whatever has you, keep one person in the ship. And then go ahead and one of you go out and grab that. And then if you get locked up or you can't jump or you can't do that kind of stuff, power off, unlock, switch people to work. The biggest advice I can give right now, that's is roll in pairs. If you roll in pairs, trust me. With that, we'll have good time. And say, happy President's Day. Have fun. It's sunny here after yesterday's up in the northwest. And there's that. So with that, cheers, y'all.